Welcome, fellow innovators. I'm Todd Wyant, and this is the Bridging the Gap podcast. You're invited to join my mission to embrace and share the innovations transforming the AEC, MEP, and manufacturing industries. As the construction technology manager for Eagle Point Software, Bianca Coury is a builder, connector, change agent, and strategist responsible for facilitating process improvement and aligning technology with operational excellence across the AECO space. She observed early in her career the need to make building process more cohesive and streamlined by understanding the robust nuts and bolts to how technology can play a critical factor in the project team equation. She believes better is always possible. Welcome to the show, Bianca.
Well, thank you so much, Todd. It's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, very excited. So I wanted to zero in more on the manufacturing side for this chat. What's your background and association with the manufacturing industry?
So my history with the manufacturing industry actually kind of goes way back with just having inspiration from my dad, who by trade is an industrial designer. So he early on was doing work from home, and he ran his own business doing prototype.
Okay.
So he would create prototypes for Frigidaire and Little Tykes, and I was always intrigued by it. So he was, working on these projects for, and he had quite a steady stream of work. So that was always really cool to see, like, him working on the machinery in the basement, and like I'd be invited to like try and work on the lathe machine. So it was cool from a young age to be exposed to that. But yeah, and then so like fast forward to when I went to school, I ended up kind of really becoming more interested in like the built environment. And then in like, ending up working in construction, I was always kind of drawn to the fact that there's a lot of parallels between the two.
Yeah.
And just
and getting more
operational.
all
the time. Yeah. So it's kind of been like from the like the early roots to like where it is now. It's just so cool to see this evolution.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Any fun memories of something that your dad was building that you got to help on?
Yeah. So one in particular was this like race car that he prototyped for Little Tykes.
Nice.
And it's kind of like a massive car for a kid that you can actually like kind of ride on, but it was like done a little bit larger to scale for the purpose of the prototype.
Yeah.
And I just was like fascinated with like the colors and just like, seeing it being constructed. And like, so he would draw it and then like create this 3D model from hand, which was really incredible. So
Cool.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you live in the Rust Belt, the heart of American manufacturing there.
Yeah.
What kind of response or energy have you seen going on in the Rust Belt throughout this whole pandemic that we're in right now?
Right. So I live in Cleveland, Ohio. And so, we are like the heart of it all in Ohio. And I really have been so moved by the fact that people are really stepping up to kind of pivot operations and like retooling facilities and being so like quick and upbeat to shift like mindset to accommodate and change in order to help like people on the front line, like our healthcare workers that are facing like these PPE shortages, or so. And then also like there's just 20 minutes west of downtown Cleveland, there's a really cool distillery called Western Reserve Distillery, and they make like handcrafted spirits, so gins, vodkas, and whatnot. So
it's a good place to know about.
Yeah. Yes. Right. And so so it's family owned, and they do organic crafts, and they have since, in addition to that, they've kind of tacked on the planning and production for hand sanitizer. So they're actually going to be selling it by the gallon, which is such a great, there's this huge need. I can't find hand sanitizer anywhere. So I'm like, sign me up. Let me go get some of that. So that's, a perfect example of things that are happening in the Rust Belt. And also just like Steelcase, headquartered out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. They have also been trying to combat the COVID epidemic with just doing some face masks and shields. I think that in the Grand Rapids facility alone, they are, I think they're slated to produce like 6,000 masks a week
Oh,
and
wow.
like some 12,500 face shields per week in that facility alone,
Uh-huh.
which has been, life saving, I think. And also, like, what else did I read about? Like, I think Carhartt, so like the makers of like durable workwear, like a fave
Uh-huh.
for construction,
Yeah.
right? Like those duck bib overalls and
It's a
whatnot.
good
So
brand.
yeah, it's a great brand, love it. They also in their Kentucky and Tennessee facilities, they have been producing gowns and same
Oh,
thing.
wow.
Like, so I think they've just finished like 50,000 gowns for the healthcare frontline workers. So it's been very refreshing to see that.
Yeah.
um,
Can
yeah.
you kind of feel that energy in the
Yeah,
air
I do. I
up
mean,
there?
even it's interesting because you feel like we're not able to be face to face in like the physical sense,
Hmm.
but just being able to connect or see or reading, these posts have been phenomenal. Even if it comes up in my Instagram feed, I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Like it's just a little bit of like a positive nugget for the day, right? To kind
Yeah.
of keep like plowing through because it's tough. I think everyone's kind of feeling like a little drained and it's just this uncertainty and extremely challenging times that we're all trying to navigate through. So hearing like positive stories has been very, very inspiring. So
Yeah, that's awesome. I
yeah.
think what the distillery is doing too is really cool because um, y- I heard something that I can't remember the exact stat, but alcohol sales is up like just crazy
Surge.
amounts,
Yeah.
depending on what it
Spiked.
is. I've heard from like some, uh, I think it's beer is up like 50%, beer and wine's up 50%,
Hmm.
but then like the hard spirits is up closer to like 400% or something. So
Right.
for them to sacrifice some of the
Yeah.
potential sales there and say, no, we're going to do something that is going to help the community. It's going to help in this crisis. And, the money will take care of itself later. Let's focus on helping people right now. I
Yeah.
think that's awesome, and more power to them.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like that is just a testament to, that company. And also just, how does that inspire other organizations and companies to really like adjust and, like you said, kind of make that sacrifice for the greater good. And, I think that's a highlight for the times and like, yeah, more power to them for doing
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
It's been cool to see American industry and businesses kind of um, be the rallying point and cry to um, come alongside of people and help
Hmm.
and be like, no, we're all in this together. This is the human experience. This is a human
Yeah.
um, thing that
I'm
we're
not,
going through right now.
right. I don't think we've ever felt anything quite like this before. I mean, there's definitely been periods in history, right? But this is like wherever, I have family in Europe and we're just like, it's the first time where it really feels like we're experiencing something like in the same fashion. And yeah, and it's how we're all accommodating to these changes and like really unifying and rallying
Hmm.
together. It's like the human spirit is like what this is all about. So yeah, totally agree with you.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
On the manufacturing side, do you think all this new energy and creativity in the industry will help to bring manufacturing back more to the States longer term?
Yeah, I mean, what I think is happening is it's shining a light on what we have here in on our turf. And um, this is kind of these unprecedented times of like really trying to get creative and also kind of prioritize and focus again on what
Mm.
really matters, and being able to say, hey, like we have all these facilities that have been abandoned for like 20 years now or 30 years, and it's like now maybe I think there's been pockets of revitalization through our communities and local towns and really trying to kind of pump some lifeblood or economic growth into those towns and
Mhm.
cities. um, but now I also think it's kind of going to like I think we're all evaluating like, is that a possibility, right? Like maybe this is the time now where we realize like, let's invest in our people and our talent that we have right here and our facilities. Like it's a shame to let that deteriorate. And there's
Yeah.
clearly a demand now, and look at what we can do when we're in these like times of restrictions. Like we can really get creative and repurpose things. So
Mhm.
it'll be interesting to see like how manufacturing might be coming back in the US and like revitalized. So I'm
Yeah.
excited for that.
Yeah. I also see that there's the potential ramification of that out of necessity, we have to have more manufacturing done here in the States, just in case we have to get shut down for any
Yeah.
and shut off countries because of safety or whatever.
Hmm.
We have to be able to manufacture our products here
Yeah.
to be able to supply everything that we need for U.S. citizens and everything. So I think
Right.
that there's um,
Yeah.
that'll be interesting to monitor and to watch that long term.
For sure. Yeah. It's like, these dire times, like we're in dire straits essentially. And like it's a state of emergency. So basically, like now is the time to really think about long term. Like, gosh, if we're ever in that situation again, like how do we respond? And are we able to have production? And yeah, we do. We have all this, we have so much space and all these,
Yeah,
great, we have people that can do it that like that's what I think we take pride in. And it'll be
yeah,
awesome to see that. Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
What lessons do you think the construction industry can learn from how manufacturing has responded?
So construction has always been such a resilient workforce, and I think um, that is another industry. I just keep reading about different companies that are stepping forward to, you know, um, pull their teams together and basically repurpose like convention centers on the fly
Mm,
and for overflow purposes, and just also being a very creative industry. I think what they've been borrowing playbook like pages out of their playbook from manufacturing is like, okay, so how do they streamline their workflows? How do they make things very lean and efficient? I,
mm,
I think there has been kind of that um, influence for some time now, but in this current state, I think it's even coming kind of more to head, like, okay, this is something we need to be doing in the now, where we really have to be, I mean, it's always kind of like efficient driven, you know day-to-day operations of like saving time and saving money,
yeah.
but now it's like really getting lean. So I think that's kind of where the parallels come, and there's that overlap. So, and like with prefabrication, that's, I think, taking off, and
Mm,
offsite construction, modular construction. um, I keep kind of being intrigued by the concept of Industry 4.0 and taking that
mm,
digital design to a manufactured state. So it's almost like AECO plus M.
yeah.
And how does that, converge? I think that's kind of the interesting intersection, because it's almost like they're not two entities. There's going to be kind of like a
Well, for
definite,
sure.
yeah,
For sure. It seems like even in the last couple of years that construction and manufacturing, those lines have really started to blur.
yeah,
That it's their construction site has to kind of become more of a manufacturing factory
yeah,
in order to build more efficiently, in order to help on the safety front, or a whole bunch of factors there.
yeah.
It's interesting to see those lines starting to blur together.
Totally. Yeah, but it's like right what you said in terms of like, so even just planning and then scheduling, and then like thinking of it from the lens of a factory. So
Hmm.
how do those different players all work and function together? And ultimately you need a product, and it's the same thing, the building or whatever what you're trying to build, that is your end product.
Yeah.
And how do you like also then maintain it? That's the other part to it,
Right.
so that it's
Sure.
like built to last.
Right.
Yeah.
Uh, what do you see as the future and some of the possibilities of offsite and prefab going forward for the construction industry?
Think there's also like a safety component to that, so that's a great enhancement. um, I think that ultimately it's going to help with site logistics, but the other caveat is like, how are those enclosures going to be tightly buttoned up so that you're protected from the elements, and
Uh,
there aren't any outside forces that impact that. So I'm always curious to see, like, long term, like, how are we planning so that prefab is sustainable, and because it is a very, very well oiled way of building. It's very crisp, it's clean
Yeah.
and safer. So more sustainable too, I think. So
What kind of mental shift do you think it takes for somebody to start going down the offsite and prefab um, way of building?
I always like to lead with like sustainability because that's like the optimist in me, but I also think the practical side is like comes down to money because I feel like
Yeah.
that's like the key motivator for business. So I honestly, I think once you talk dollars and cents, that's kind of when people start to become intrigued and like their ears perk up and they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Why am I not like I'm wasting all this money? Like
Yeah.
why was I doing that? So I think when it like when you kind of boil it down to the cash flow, I think that's where it will really resonate with companies. But
Yeah. And it probably realistically is different based on like the owner of the firm is going to see it one way versus the people that are going to be in the shop or the people that were in the field, so they're all going to come at it with their own perspective of either being like, yeah, this is really cool, we should launch for it, or kind of being a little skeptical of it of, well, why would we do that, we've always done it this way.
yeah, right. And that's like a common theme, right? Throughout construction too in general. Like, well, why? Because it's always been working this way. Like, why would I change anything? Right.
Right.
But I think once that shift does start gaining traction, people are then it just kind of becomes second nature, and then it's like it's just kind of part of a solution offering for like a firm. They're like, oh, we also do this because
Right.
years ago it was like, let's tack on BIM and VDC to our our portfolio, and I think that's the next wave of you'll see like more firms advertising that
Yeah.
as a
Yeah,
part
for
of
sure.
their wheelhouse. Yeah.
What do you see as some of the workflow changes, whether in manufacturing or construction, that will come out of this current disruption?
So I think people are really, I think this adjustment period is kind of, it can be a little bit earth shattering for some people. And I think it's interesting because it's like, okay, who's essential, who's non-essential? This construction project's going on, but this isn't. And
Hmm.
I think we're in such a disruptive time that I think if we just kind of take pause and say, hey, like, okay, what are your key priorities? Is it learning right now? Like, do you need to get your teams up to speed on something that has been on the back burner? This is a great time to like catch up on some, continuous learning
Hmm.
projects. What other initiatives were you working on that just kind of, fell to the wayside and now can kind of be revisited? So it's almost just like maybe, and I think there is a lot of work coming. It's just how do we prioritize, and it's almost breaking it up into chunks of like big rocks versus little rocks. And I think that's a great way to start versus feeling like overwhelmed, like, oh my gosh, like, because it's easy to get, go down that path.
Oh yeah.
It's right. So I think just kind of centering, taking a moment, balancing, recalibrating, getting with your teams, just huddling and talking about it. I think that kind of gives clarity and just a greater sense of purpose. And hopefully people will, you know, feel a little bit more, you know, comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how big do you think communication is during this time?
Oh, I think this is a time to, continue communication, keep those channels open. Um, we have we're in such a great time because think about if this happened like 10, 15 years ago. I don't even know if like we could text as much, right? So it's
Oh
like
yeah.
these things we take for granted. Now it's like, well, I'm so happy I can like FaceTime or I can see you, or, it's like, that's
Right.
amazing. So using tech as our lifeline, I think tech is our unifier in this. And I think, it's great to touch base, communicate and just check in and see how people are doing. I think that's number one, is just kind of like see how everyone's feeling. And
Yeah.
like we're all, like you said, just going back to like the start, like everyone is in this together and just feeling like, okay, like we we'll conquer it and get through it. But yeah, I think communication is highly essential. Like that, if we can keep that up, that's the first part of it all.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I totally agree that technology has made this more bearable. I'm I'm a pretty big extrovert. And so being cut off from people has been one of
It's
the hardest parts
painful.
of this whole
Oh, it's
thing.
so painful. Yeah, it is
Uh,
hard. It's also like you don't to know exactly what day it is. So kind of just like
it's one
it
long day.
become yeah, it's just one long day. And so like normally when and just going out to socialize or go to the park or something, those things that we took for granted, it's just like, oh gosh, you know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, tech is definitely like it's great to hop on a virtual meeting. Like,
Yeah, and it is crazy when you mentioned if it happened 10, 15 years ago, we didn't have a lot of these things at our disposal.
mhm.
I think 10, 15 years ago, that puts me back in college was FaceTime. I don't even remember FaceTiming
Yeah,
in college. I don't think
FaceTime.
that was around.
Yeah, no,
So,
I feel like FaceTime is within the last like 6, 7 years maybe.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
think this whole
5
experience
years? I don't know.
sounds about right. Yeah. This-
I was like, wait, let me Google that. When did FaceTime
yeah. Hey,
actually
Alexa.
happen?
There's in this quarantine period, I think we've all formed kind of new habits of work and life. What do you think will carry over into the new world order when we go back to normal, whatever that is going to look like?
Yeah. Well, so for me, like my perspective is kind of a little altered because I've been working from home remote for over a year now.
Okay.
And
So you're like, welcome to the party, guys.
yeah,
What
I
are you
was like,
complaining about?
this is right. Exactly. This is
Everybody's on my level now.
yes. With the exception of the childcare portion. So that's been interesting because now
Yeah.
there's like, I have two little tykes and they're 3 and 16 months. So it's kind of a juggling act with that.
Yeah.
Um,
I have 4,
but
2, and 6 months. So I
oh, you
get
can
it.
relate. Yeah. And they need constant attention and it's really exciting because I almost feel like it's refreshing to have them as part of my day because then it's like, oh yeah, the toddler life and like being in like a zone of play actually like kind of helps creativity with my work. So I
Yeah.
love
Oh,
it. I
that's a cool
think
connection. Yeah.
yeah, it's just like, oh, like my daughter will say something so profound. Like I just got all these like rolls of tape. They're different colors and we're
Mhm.
learning colors. And she was like, Mom, we need to stick together. And I was like, Maya, you are so right on so many levels. You have no idea.
That's right.
And like, who knows? I mean, I don't know if she realizes like the impact that had on my day, but I was like, yes, we do need to stick together.
Yeah.
So little things like that throughout the day make it a little bit more you know, just good. So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
That's
but
awesome.
remote work, I think, is kind of been a trend. I think now companies, they're like adjusting and, they're realizing like, hey, like this is something that works. Like this, my entire staff is working virtually and we're getting work done, if not
Mhm.
more, maybe we are more productive this way. We're definitely more sustainable. um, I think people do miss some interactions that they have in an office space. Like I think meetings are great. Like I do miss, going to trade shows. Like those connections that you make at an event,
Yeah.
I'm missing out on that. I feel like that's kind of like where the slump is a little bit, where it's just like, oh, I can't wait to like, when is that happening?
Right.
Like when do we get to like all get in a room with like-minded people again? So
Right.
I mean virtually, yeah, but so
Yeah.
I do think going forward, I think maybe this is going to be a new normal. Like I think this will be part of the day to day and just kind of like assessing what we do and how we shop or how we live. Like, do I need to go buy some baby chickens and have some eggs? Because I don't know if I'll get eggs at the grocery store tomorrow.
Right.
So
Right.
it's like, do I need to have a little like vegetable garden? I just thinking things through of like long term, but work wise, I think it's pretty mind blowing to see like how people are adjusting and really equipping themselves with the right tools and getting work done and collaborating more than ever. I actually feel like it's helping with empathy like
Oh,
tenfold.
yeah. Because everybody's
Something,
in the same boat now. So
yeah, we're like, oh
it's an
yeah,
equal
get it
playing
now.
field. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great equalizer. So we're all
That's
like,
true.
it's good to connect that way. I think, um, you know, just having that sensitivity, or maybe like some companies were always like hoping to make that shift and embrace it more. But now is that time where it's like, it's here now, like this is happening. So
Right.
it's
Yeah, I
testing
think it's
our,
interesting. Yeah, I think the firms that aren't going to adapt to remote work and how to um, span that gap
Mhm.
are probably going to get left behind in the long run, because I think remote work is going to become way more normal even when everything opens back up,
Mhm.
because people have gotten a taste of the good life and now they're going to want it. But
Yeah, the
um,
balance. It's like
yeah.
it's a good balance. It's I definitely think, and maybe it's even just the idea of like, okay, if it was starting small, like we don't, maybe some people have reservations or they're still nervous about the concept of remote work, but
Mm,
just even trying it out, testing it out, like maybe we get together in the office twice a week for
mhm.
essential meetings. I don't know. Maybe it's just one way to explore it.
Yeah.
Construction's a little different, right? Because they're like, there's high story buildings being built or a bridge project. And so that requires like to be physically present. But and in terms of like a day in the life of an office, home office is just as good, if just a different way of doing work. Doesn't mean it's
Right.
wrong. It's just different.
Right. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Are
Yeah.
there any habits that you think people should be putting in place now to set them up for success afterwards?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. For like one thing that works for me for remote work is just like basically treating my day as if I'm going to the office. So I start the day with coffee. I, and throughout the day, maintain it. But just like breaking it up too, and like taking your lunch break,
Mhm.
going for a walk just for 10, 15 minutes, get to fresh air. It really kind of refocuses my attention on work. Or, I just sometimes, okay, I need to take a half hour and do yoga. That's great. And like, I don't have to
Yeah.
leave to do it. I can do it from the comfort of my home. But then I'm like, again, I feel that I can go back to work. So it's just like breaking it up a little differently. And
Mhm.
also like sometimes I do have to work at night, and that's fine. It makes sense. I still get the work done, but it's just kind of like our view of the work life, balance has shifted, or it's just like kind of we're facing it from a different angle now. So
Yeah. It's kind of more fluid, I
yeah,
think, now than having hard lines of like, I'm working from 8 to 5 and then I'm off and then it's
yeah,
family time. Now it's kind of
yeah,
this moment's family time. This moment's over here is work time.
yeah,
This is kind of
yeah.
workout time or whatever. So it's being willing to kind of go with that
Yeah,
fluidity of it.
exactly. Yeah, just kind of being more open to it and just embracing it, and I think that helps a lot.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yep.
Well, how do people get in touch with you if they want to reach out to you?
Oh, absolutely. Anyone, if you want to find me and connect with me on LinkedIn, that's a great way. Or my email is bianca.holtiercorey@eaglepoint.com. So feel free to connect with me on any questions you have, and optimizing your workflows, or just questions about remote work or juggling kiddos. No, happy to help.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming on the show, Bianca. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Todd. It's been great. You
Yeah.
too.
And thank you to all those listening. If you are interested in learning more, you can visit our sponsor, Applied Software, at asti.com for more information. You can also listen to this podcast anywhere, anytime, by simply going to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, be sure to check out our website, bridgingthegappod.com. Until next time, I'm Todd Wyant, thanking you for joining us on the Bridging the Gap podcast. Keep innovating.